Runeterra is a very complex world, with diverse races, cultures, animals, and different types of magic, all divided into various regions. We have everything from regions focused on technology to fully magical regions where building a wooden house involves the use of magic. In this video, I will organize all of League of Legends regions based on their power levels. Starting with the weakest region on the list, in 12th place, we have Camivore. In the past, Camivore was an extremely powerful region, supposedly more advanced than practically all others. They had great military power and enjoyed conquest, much like Noxus in the current lore. And in addition to their advanced military strength, they also had dragons. Everyone knows dragons are insanely strong, so I don't even need to go into much detail. But that was in the past, after Viego ruined the kingdom's economy in his quest to find a cure for Isolde and died without leaving an heir. Taking the sacred sword, which was inherited by royalty, with him, Camivore began to crumble. To this day, we don't fully understand what exactly led to Camivore's complete collapse, though we know some reasons. But as demonstrated by the final battle of the Sentinels of Light event, shown in the Absolution animation, which ends with Viego imprisoned in a ruined Camivore, it's clear that the region is in shambles. So, since it's a destroyed region, it's obviously the weakest. Next on the list, in 11th and 10th place, we have Piltover and Zaun. Piltover and Zaun aren't just a small region, essentially just one city, but their main point is trying to emulate magic through Hextech in Piltover and Chemtech in Zaun. Of course, Hextech, which is a mix of magic and technology, is quite powerful, so much so that other regions, especially Noxus, constantly trade with the city. However, it's not potent enough to surpass the magical power of other regions, and it's only really being used to its fullest potential by absolute geniuses, like Echo, who's in Zaun with no resources. Zaun, due to a lack of resources and great ingenuity, has improved through Chemtech, which is based on chemistry and turns many people into horrifying creatures. For example, we have Warwick, Dr. Mundo, Victor, and so on. There must be a bunch of other terrifying things hidden in the city as well, as it's large and constantly experimenting. But despite all this strength, the population is much smaller than in most regions, and in the case of an invasion or war, they'd likely be overwhelmed by the larger numbers and magic of other regions. So yeah, it's a weak region, wouldn't hold up against anyone. In 9th place, we have Bilgewater. Compared to the other regions to come, Bilgewater is still one of those more down-to-earth regions, though not entirely. And you might wonder, why is Bilgewater ranked higher than Piltover and Zaun? Well, the bulk of the population is made up of regular Runeterrans from various races, with normal weapons, which are definitely weaker than, say, Hextech. However, magic is much more naturally present there than in Piltover and Zaun, largely due to the presence of Nagakaburos, which spawns creatures like Nautilus, Pike, and other terrifying beings that are clearly very powerful. Additionally, we have Illaoi's tribe, a group of particularly strong individuals. And despite being ordinary humans, some of the population live off fishing grotesquely gigantic creatures. For instance, Pike's lore tells us that before he died and became a spirit, he was a diver who would enter these massive creatures to kill them, alone. Finally, in Legends of Runeterra, the Marai, Nami's tribe, are understood to be part of Bilgewater. They are a people who utilize a lot of magic and survive within the depths of Runeterra's seas, an extremely inhospitable place, providing great strength to the region. Next, in 8th place, we have Demacia. Demacia begins to enter the more interesting regions, making it harder to categorize. Even though it was a place completely against magic, they make up for it in other areas, like combat techniques and constructs. It's impossible to look at Galio and not acknowledge how incredibly strong he is. Another point is their equipment. For example, we have Jarvan's spear, which possesses the power needed to slay dragons. In fact, Jarvan himself hunted dragons. Their armor is resistant to magic, some to fire, and their weapons have similar capabilities. Demacia has several powerful champions, and in general, it's a region that borders Noxus and has been at war with Noxus for a long time, only avoiding conquest due to their strategic and technical prowess in warfare. And everyone knows how formidable Noxus is, so for Demacia to hold its ground, they must be strong. However, recently, our man Silas started a rebellion that turned Demacia upside down. Because of this rebellion, Demacia is definitely not as organized and prepared for battle as it once was, not to mention the significant casualties they've suffered. That's why I'm ranking them here. Next, in 7th place, we have Shurima. Finally, my favorite region. It's a shame to place it here on the list, but unfortunately, its glory days are over. Shurima was once one of the most powerful regions, if not the most powerful, boasting an entire army of god warriors, known as the Ascended, who were essentially deities fighting to bring glory to their nation. They went around conquering everything, and nothing could stop them at that time. As a result, other extremely powerful regions, both past and present, were part of Shurima, having been dominated like Ixtal and Icathia. The domination was so extensive that Icathia, in seeking to break free, brought forth the Void, marking the beginning of Shurima's decline. The void struck Shurima hard, shaking many Ascended and leaving its mark. But what truly sealed Shurima's fate was Zerath's ascension, who literally toppled the sun disk and destroyed Shurima. The Ascended, mentally shattered and corrupted by blood magic, started a great war, and thus, everything fell apart. Shurima essentially became just a giant desert with villages and small nomadic groups wandering about, with some isolated cities. Most of the Ascended disappeared, and the Darken are scattered around the world doing various things. Recently, Azir returned and began reorganizing Shurima, but he's still in the process of restoring Shurima to its former glory and is far from what it was in the past. Along with that, Zerath is also gaining strength, and other conflicts are happening throughout Shurima, such as the expansion of the Void, mainly in Shurima's underground. Shurima is ahead of Demacia because, even with all this, what remains there is still very potent, so it's unfortunately positioned here on the list. In 6th place, we have Ionia. When we talk about Ionia, we're discussing some of the most potent things. The place is known as the Land of Magic for a reason. Magic in Ionia is as common as, say, a gun in Bilgewater. For instance, if people want to build a house there, they use magic to grow a tree into the shape of the house. This isn't just because of magic, but also due to their deep appreciation for nature, the land, and spirituality. After all, magic in Ionia literally comes from the earth and nature, as demonstrated in the Ionia cinematic from the Runeterra Tales, where a boy cuts down a tree and the tree rises to chase him. Then he plants a seed and everything is fine again. Even the trees there have life and are powerful. It's quite intense. Additionally, Ionia is where the Vastaya originated, a classification for various beings with animal traits, usually possessing some form of innate spiritual powers due to their connection with the Vastaya Shire. And although it may seem peaceful, it was not always so. The first Noxian invasion of Ionia made the use of violence necessary, leading to the use of extremely lethal techniques that were previously not used, like Zed's shadow techniques or the Wuju from Master Yi, which was so potent that when the Noxians saw Master Yi fighting, they did everything to kill all other Wuju members, fearing another Master Yi due to how formidable he was. With these things, they defeated Noxus, which is a significant feat of strength. In 5th place, we have Noxus. Noxus is famous for its strength and ability to conquer everything around it, so they are obviously strong. They are not only extremely militarized, but they accept anything. In Noxus, what matters is strength. They allow the use of weapons, good magic, evil magic. Anything is acceptable in Noxus, as long as you serve Noxus. It's also home to incredibly formidable characters, such as Vlad, LeBlanc, Swain, among others. Just these characters alone could probably defeat some of the simpler regions on their own, and they were only defeated by Ionia, for example, due to internal intrigues, mostly caused by LeBlanc. Without these issues, they would have likely overrun Ionia at that time. They are still at war with Demacia, involved in battles with smaller kingdoms, and continue to be completely fine. It's a region solely focused on being strong and powerful, and it's not higher because from here on, things get excessively intense. In 4th place, we have the Shadow Isles, a completely messed up place. Just entering it gets you caught by the mist and turned into a specter trapped there forever. Viego, who was the strongest there at least at the time, managed to cause chaos across the entire world simultaneously. There's literally an entire order just to contain an event that happens once a year when the mist expands and the specters start attacking nearby places. The common inhabitants there are extremely powerful. In a normal region, you might have a human as an inhabitant, like Jinx in Zon, for example. In the Shadow Isles, instead of Jinx, we have something like this. Moreover, the higher-ups there are extremely powerful. Thresh, for instance, is currently one of the strongest beings in Runeterra, and others like Hecarim, Callista, etc. are also extremely formidable, so they definitely deserve the 4th place. Before we move to our top 3, if you're enjoying the video, give it a like, subscribe if you're not already, and become a member if you want to support the channel a lot. In 3rd place, we have Ixtal. Ixtal is possibly the most underexplored region of Runeterra, but they are incredibly strong. Ixtal is a highly developed and hidden region, like Wakanda, but with most individuals being mages, focusing on elemental magic. There are many non-human beings there, either staying to themselves, like Rengar, or being part of society, like the New Skarner, who is one of the region's leaders. That's right, one of the region's leaders is a giant magical scorpion with 3 tails. Millennia ago, they were already brutally evolved, as shown by Malphite, who is a fragment of a weapon created in Ixtal and is the size of a gigantic mountain. Despite having little information about the region, their achievements are significant enough to place them in 3rd place. In 2nd place, we have Freljord. Freljord is a vast region and extremely difficult to survive in. The climate there makes it hard to find food, shelter, etc., which naturally creates powerful inhabitants. For example, the Iceborn can wield True Ice, one of the most powerful elements in Runeterra, capable of imprisoning even the Watchers. They are naturally very strong, more powerful, and more resilient than most Runeterrans, worth several soldiers in battle. Additionally, the culture also makes survival challenging due to constant conflicts between tribes. This means that even the weaker Freljordians are capable of surviving situations that would be fatal fatal for most individuals from other regions. It is also home to very formidable creatures, such as trolls, yetis, and so on. However, it's not this that places Freljord in second place. It's the fact that Freljord is home to divine beings at the top of Runeterra's power scale, like Ornn, Volibear, Anivia, and other demigods. Just them alone would be enough to defeat almost any other region on their own. And there's much more, like Lysandra, who is one of the strongest characters even without being a deity. Freljord is simply extraordinarily powerful, but even that isn't enough to surpass the top spot, Targon. Targon being in first place is quite obvious, especially considering the celestial realm of Targon as part of the region. The Celestials, who are the closest thing to true gods we have in the LoL lore, are almost all in Targon. Beings with power levels completely beyond what other regions can imagine are at the top of Mount Targon, and that alone is enough to place them first. They have Aurelian Sol. Additionally, even the humans there are extremely powerful. The mountain they live on is home to creatures that alone would pose a massive challenge to entire regions, and the location itself changes, which becomes more pronounced as we ascend the mountain. We have tribes like the Solari, who undoubtedly possess one of the best armies in the world, and to top it off, there are the Aspects, who are humans chosen as vessels to receive the power of the Celestials and became extremely powerful. So there's no question Targon is the strongest region, no doubt. Even though the list has ended, there are two regions I'd like to mention as honorable mentions. The first is Bandopolis. Bandopolis is not in Runeterra. It is said to be beyond the material realm. Furthermore, Bandopolis follows rules and laws completely different from Runeterra. For example, it's said that for non-Yordles, flavors are more intense, colors are more vibrant, the sunlight is eternally golden, etc. So, because it's not part of Runeterra, it can't be placed on the list. And the second is the Void. The Void is a powerful, hungry, and corrupting place, but in its current state, it's more like a constant threat rather than a region that's actively ruling. The Void corrupts, destroys, and consumes. It's always advancing, but it doesn't have a concrete place. So that's why it's not in the top list, but it's worth mentioning due to its immense threat. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one.